So here we sit in 1967. Now, this is the last turn before, or the last year before, I believe, the NVA can institute the Tet Offensive. They still haven't played any of their offensives, and neither side drew one this turn. So neither side drew a campaign this turn. I'm not sure whether or not the Tet's going to go in place. I haven't read the rules too carefully on it at all. But it feels like it's about the time where things are going to change. We're seeing a lot of U.S. activity beginning to show up, but we're also seeing piles and piles of NVA units showing up in North Vietnam. So I want to understand Tet before I go forward. I've drawn out the cards. I don't want to go on with this turn. It's past my bedtime actually, but even though there's sort of this temptation to keep going because it is a fairly light game, and I think the turns can go quicker than I've been doing them, I do want to pause and read up on the offensives and make sure, what do I have to do to actually cause one? Because I know that in the victory games, Vietnam, you can't just say, oh yeah, I'm doing my Tet Offensive now. You really do have to prepare for it. Now, I feel like I am prepared with this stack to move for something like that, but I don't know what I need to do in this pre-turn for it. Likewise with the U.S., maybe I should have taken an offensive, and I may choose to switch a card based on what I see there. They have to shuffle the monsoon in that way, like that. Because if I can get the hawk value a little higher again, or keep it where it is, or whatever, for longer. It's just right now I look at the board and the only place where I could see it happening is here, and that looks expensive, although I do definitely have some stockpile points at this point. So I'm going to give it some thought. Oh yeah, here we are at Hearts and Minds, if I didn't say that before. I'm going to give it some thought, kind of sleep on it, and come back after work tomorrow and hopefully start rolling again. Well, it turns out I can't sleep. Nice thunderstorm going. So here it is in 1967, and the communists started off by playing and moving some forces along the Ho Chi Minh Trail down from North Vietnam in order largely to prepare for their offensive. The Allies responded, building Firebase Zulu down here. That makes Saigon even harder to take. They might have wanted to play it somewhere else. Yeah. I'm going to put it up here actually. And advancing into here and making an attack on the communists when they drove into Cambodia. Now we continue. The Reds played the Pentagon Papers, which gets discarded. That cost them 3 RPs out of 4, but gave them a dove point. I suppose they could have just reshuffled it, because they can get it for free later in the game. But they also shifted some more troops down. And the U.S., well actually the ARVN, moved through to here and ended up getting into a fight there and losing a couple of ARVN units. Probably a mistake. VC played General Uprising, getting them into here, and they also marched into here, defeating the U.S. forces that were there, or ARVN forces actually. And then they underwent some bombing to little effect. More bombing down here. The U.S. finally cleaned this, or actually ARVN again, finally cleaned this area up. This has been left behind. They moved into here. They played the peace talks, which allowed a refueling of the other bombers, so that's why we have 2 bombers out right now. Alright, so here we are moving into 68, and we can expect that we're preparing for it. The Hawk is down to 1. Had to spend to maintain Arvin support because there were so many losses. And we're at 11 provinces. Now, unfortunately, the North Vietnamese have 3 cards in their hand, and they're not necessarily good ones because they played this thing that allowed them to draw more cards. They probably should have held that. I don't know. It was just a bad card play when it comes down to it. But I'm going to start setting up the reinforcements, and we should see some significant action on this turn. Okay, so I caught maybe 15 minutes of sleep when I got home from work, and then knock on the door, more games came. It's cool to get them here before I'm heading out for vacation. I've still got a lot more that aren't going to make it, but anyway, since I'm awake, we got the initial setup here for the 68 turn. A lot of stuff on the board here, and boom, there goes the Tet Offensive. That costs an immediate 6 points of stored resource points. You see there were a lot there. But what it does, the NVA player immediately gets 9 resource points to spend on this action. Now, there are a number of special rules here. Among them, let's just go through the whole pile. And the Easter Offensive is actually very similar, although there may be some differences. First of all, a whole bunch of NVA infantry are going to show up on the board, 8 of them to be exact, borrowed from future turns. So we're going to see NVA reinforcements beginning to set up on the track when they start coming in again, because the next couple turns they aren't going to come in. They're taking them from them. And these are allowed to go to border provinces of Cambodia and Laos. Basically along the Ho Chi Minh Trail, I guess. I'm not sure which way they mean border provinces. And in other places they talk about border provinces being inside South Vietnam. But anyway. 4 more VC units will get placed on the board, and then all of VC get turned up. They become more like normal units. All the bad intel get thrown away. Back in the cup, not in my garbage. And no matter what, there will be no bad intel for this turn, for this year. In battles, for the whole year or just for this? Okay, only the first turn where the card comes up, the 9 resource points there, and I can't spend any of these. I only get those 9. The North Vietnamese get to roll 2 dice for each combat, but they only pick one of them. They pick the higher one. It's not as powerful as one of the earlier events that allowed them to roll 2 dice and add them. If they have that card in here, they'll get to do it again. Other special rules. The VC are able to move like normal infantry. Like I said, they're treated as normal. If they do a PC change action, flagging an area, they come off the map. They take over as the political personnel there, a little different from normal. They have to take losses before the NVA. This is to simulate the destruction that occurred in the VC during this period. They were just completely wiped out. And for the rest of the war, really, the NVA carried the war. Now, this is weird because I think a lot of these counters are really VC. Blue gets to fly additional bombing missions this turn, 2 of them. I'm going to need counters for that. I'll put this in place for now, but I'm going to have a couple of blank counters here to use as bombers because they're not real ones. They go away at the end of the year. Well, after they're used, really. In the interphase, blue has to pay 5 resource points stockpiled to prevent a coup automatically, unless red plays Nguyen Kao Ki, and that makes it 7. Now, at the end of the year, every SVN city over 3 that's red flagged is worth a dove point. Every border province in the 2nd and 3rd Corps, the middle of the country, which is already pretty heavily dominated. I mean, this whole border is controlled. This one a little less so, and we're seeing some heavy, heavy presence of Allied forces there. But every border province is worth a dove, right? No, everyone over 4 is worth a dove. So currently they already have 5. They can get 2 more doves that way. They'll get 1 plus 2 more if they hold all of them. And let's see, for every 5 Allied units that go in the body count, doesn't matter whose they are, how they happened, whatever, rounded down, they get a dove. So they want to cause casualties, they want to take cities, and they want to take the border areas in the center of the country. We'll see how this works out. So after the first and very, very bloody turn in that offensive, we see humongous casualties, especially among the ARVN. We see some incursions, but no, the NVA didn't want to spend points when they have this combat bonus to convert areas, to try to get their flags on them yet. Even though that's where they're going to get a lot of their points. Some of them are going to come from here, no doubt. We see this big stack, a reaction group, which forced a counterattack down here, out where the troops all evacuated from in order to get into that stack. That kind of action is just, you know, as soon as the Allied forces leave, bam, they come in, the NBA can come in. It's really a matter of this particular situation. I forgot to put my reinforcements down. I had better do that before I forget further. And then we'll be going for the Allied first turn in the offensive. The U.S. surprisingly uses its power, with the in-country card, to actually escalate the violence. This is probably a mistake. It allowed them to make all kinds of attacks, but the body bag count was so high. They're trying to prevent the NVA from being able to gain points from other than the body bag, though. And overall, they definitely, we can see, did a lot of casualties to the NVA units, as well as taking a few of their own. I think overall, it may have been a good move. It just feels so counterintuitive during the offensive to start causing more casualties to yourself. Probably my thinking is from the Victory Games game, where VC casualties just don't count. But you still do want to wipe them out. Also did a lot of bombing. Used both the free counters for the offensive, as well as my other counters. Try to trim their forces as fast and as soon as possible to prevent them from being able to do more damage. And now we move over to their turn. The VC play Uncle Ho. Gives them a +1 on their battle factors from now on, whenever they're attacking in this turn. That cost them 3 resource points. It's an expensive cost to play. They also flagged up here, Quang Nam, and moved more forces into Darlok. I don't know what that is. They had to move away, though, from Bin Long, which is also a very valuable spot, in order to position themselves there, and they didn't get to attack. The U.S. is probably going to try very hard to get them out of these regions and maybe try to convert some territories back. It's going to be tough, though, no matter what. The U.S. plays a big 5-point card, not taking the event, which would have given them more troops. Instead, using it to continue the carnage. They swept through this area and knocked a couple NVA units back And look at the stacks just growing now. The Arvin's getting bigger and bigger, their losses. This is definitely an expensive turn for both sides. I'm not sure whether the level of violence I'm doing with the Allies is a good idea at all, but definitely taking the toll on the NVA. And now the option that they're left with is kind of the, do you want to attack straight on? Do you want to try to expend more points to do a strategic move and try to hit someplace weaker? What do they want to do? I think they're going to go for the weaker choice, to tell you the truth. Well, I'm sitting here on the last card of this year, 68. It's going to be an Allied card. I don't have enough points on either of these to buy replacements or stored points sufficient to prevent a fall of South Vietnam. That's kind of good, because there's no way that I could prevent a fall from this result, the number of Arvin losses. I'm not sure what the rules are on this. They're ambiguous as far as I can tell. Which is to say, like many of the rules, in the campaign, there's a specific effect. Let me see. In the interphase, blue must pay at most 5 SRPs to prevent a coup. I don't know what that means. At most 5? Unless red places a card which is 7. I guess it means that I can't prevent a coup because of the losses anyway. I'm not sure, and I don't understand why red would play a card which increases that value. But that's how I read it. I'm not sure that's what it means. Okay. Maybe blue has to play that card. I don't know. Okay, so I'm not sure what to do with the blue player at this point. Right now, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 provinces that are red. No problem there. I think only one, two controlled cities for them. So I would say overall there's not a lot that I can do. I could kill units, I could try to convert stuff, but for the most part I don't have to do anything offensive related to the Tet Offensive. So I'll just play out the turn as best as I can and see what I can gain. Oh boy. So indeed there is a coup, and I'm going to put a marker, the coup marker up here. I think that's what it's supposed to be, why it has to stay over to the coup side. It indicates that the units in Saigon can't leave. All the U.S., all the Allied non-Arvin forces came out of there. Additional Arvin reinforcements were pulled out from the future, just like the NVA reinforcements were for the offensive. And all the Arvin units were flipped to untried. Here's some US units that are going to come in as reinforcements, automatic reinforcements for free. There were the ones over in Saigon. And we got a lot of dove points this turn. We're up to 13 now. Let's just see what that computes to for 69. So at this point, end of 68, they should be at 6. They're 1 point short of an automatic victory. They did very, very well in this offensive. Clearly, we were a little below 0 before. Now we're almost at an automatic victory. This was a very powerful offensive for them. Probably better than the historical. They lost a lot of units though, but then again, so did the Allies. Alright, well, we are going to start 1969, but that'll be on the next video, because this one's gotten pretty long. Tet Offensive is gone. Can't happen again. Uncle Ho goes back. Discard card goes back, and the next turn we have these 1969 cards, the Vietnamization of the war. Just to say the U.S. and the Allies are beginning to pull out. And in fact, on this next turn, 69, we start seeing U.S. withdrawals. 2 U.S. units are going to withdraw. The Air Force is going to stay there. There they are. But it does not look good for the Allies at this point, I'd say. See how far we have to get for next turn. Because this turn was at 14. Well, we got to get 5 more Dove points in this upcoming turn. I don't know. The NVA's in pretty bad shape at this point. We'll see what happens. They get a lot of replacement points. I think like 8 a turn. So they may be able to do it.